Hi, and a very good morning to everyone who is joining us today. So, from all of us at Mahe Digital Bersama Google, we hope that you are staying safe and you are staying healthy too. So, my name is Jin, and I'm the trainer for the Mahe Digital Bersama Google, based in PJ. But obviously, at this moment, I'm still coming to you from my home, since we're still in the MCO phase. So today we are very fortunate to have two speakers. So we have Adele who will be guiding us through the session today. So Adele, you can wave to everybody. And we have a special guest speaker today, Zine, who will be sharing with us a lot of insider business tips and things. Right. So I won't be telling you much about it at this point. We will be hearing more review as time comes by. But just a little bit of an introduction. So Zine is actually the founder of Apostrophe Marketing Communications. It's a consulting company and the brains behind the famous Guai Zai Hong restoration project in Chinatown. And it aims to bring back the glory days of Guai Zai Hong by combining attractive murals with technology. Right. So this is the only teaser I'm going to be giving everybody at this point of time. So for those of you who are not familiar with our program, Mahe Digital Bersama Google is a Grow with Google program, which our aim is to help Malaysians get the right skills to find jobs, advance their careers, and also grow their businesses, right? So we really appreciate that you have made time to join us this morning, and we'd just like to stress some house rules that all the information shared here is confidential, right? So we hope that you respect that and use this information for business purposes only. And please do not take screenshots and share them on social media. The slides today will not be shared. However, at the end of the session, we'll be actually giving you a handbook after you have submitted the feedback form. All right. So and the last thing is that for quality monitoring purposes, the session today will be recorded, but it will not be shared with anyone at all. Now, given that this is a digital session, it does not mean that it's going to be a one-way communication, right? So using the magic of this software called Sli.do, we would very much like to invite you to participate into the session by asking questions and also joining us throughout on our polls throughout the live stream, right? So just to make sure that everyone is comfortable with things, you can now head over to slido.com, as in slido.com, and key in the event code G316. So there's no signups or logins required for this. And so whenever you have any questions, you can actually just put them into the Slido chat box. And it's purely optional if you like to put in your name, or if you prefer to remain anonymous, it would be perfectly fine. So Slido can actually be accessed on your mobile phone, your laptops, your tablets. It's really multicast. And we highly recommend that you keep the tab open throughout the session, so that at any point of time, if you have any questions that comes around from the slides, or if you have any questions about Google Analytics, feel free to put them inside Slido, and our team will be addressing your questions throughout the session itself. All right. So remember, in order to go to Slido, you just have to go to slido.com, as in slido.com. And the event code is G316. So why don't you just take a little bit of a pulse check to see how everyone is coping together with Slido, all right? So we are going to start today's session with the very first Slido poll. And the question is, as SMEs, what are your biggest challenges during the past month? So the first option for you is you can actually choose A, earning enough to keep your business going, or B, shifting your business processes from offline to digital, C, changing your business model or offering new products and services, D, keeping your employees and teams connected and productive, or E, finding the right resources and support for SMEs from governments, banks, and etc. Right? So you just have to go into slido.com. The code is G316, and you can just select your option over there. Right? So in the meantime, while waiting for everyone to test out Slido, Zine, we'll have our very first question for you today.
Okay. Shoot.
Sure, fire away. Yeah. So as we are adjusting now to the new normal, right, Zine? Because today will be the first day of our RMCO. So many companies actually are making fundamental changes to the processes and communication things that they have, right? So can you share with us, how have you and your team, how have you coped with your team throughout this period?
So, I run two business, yeah, Apostrophe being a marketing agency and Guai Zai Hong, which is the restoration project of the 10 old shop lots, heritage shop lots in Petaling Street. So both have totally different type of audience and also the way we manage, but fundamentally, the reasons or the way we manage is the same. So what is one of the way? Over communicate. I use the word over communicate because just the usual communication that we have today won't work. Everyone is feeling very new with this situation we are in now, this pandemic, unprecedented. No one has experienced. Suddenly, it levels out the playing field. There's no more experienced person than another. And it's important that you constantly and regularly communicate clearly to people. And when I say people, internal staff, your customers in public, your tenants, which I have, my 10 tenants, and also the partners that you work with. I use communication tools like a social media platform like FB and IG, and also Google My Business, something business owners must have. It's no longer a question of a choice. We create multiple Kwai Tai Hong White announcement. I have internal announcements for Apostrophe, constantly keeping updated with operating hours even. I mean, now the question is, are you even open or do you do delivery? There are a lot of questions that was never even a question before. It was a set timetable, but today everything needs to be checked and find out if it's still there. We help tenants to push and share. It's no longer just here is a place we rent to you and then you go figure. We create relevant content and activities constantly as well, because this whole gloomy morning and also gloomy MCO kind of keep people stagnant. You're sitting and waiting for something to happen, and there's this whole demotivated feeling. So creating content, having reasons for people to be motivated, whether is it Kwai Zai Hong, whether is it internal, it's very important. We created our first year anniversary. By the way, our first year anniversary is during MCO at Kwai Zai Hong. And then we have some activities that is for our tenants to do takeaways and delivery as a form of promotion for our first anniversary. We
Wow.
did, we did. In fact, one more thing to add. Yeah, we did. In fact, feel the need to give first. Today, a lot of us are still grappling between: do we do this for cost saving purposes, or do we do this for opportunity seeking purposes? So give first. Find ways to give, whether it's giving advice, giving like this today training, learning something for other people. There's no loss when you light another candle. There's no other candle missing. So shift the focus from uncertainty and fear to hunting for opportunities, and then convert those challenges to something positive. I think that works for any industry, any other people, particularly if you're SME owners.
I really like the quote that you shared, Zin, about a candle never loses its flame by sharing it with another candle.
Yeah, it's
And
really good. Like it.
right, so that's how we are going to start to brighten up the day. And come, so thanks so much, Zin, for your sharing. Let's take a look at the post now, just to see how everyone responding to it. And we can see that the majority of the responses over here actually says that businesses are having challenges to actually earning enough to keep their business going. And I think today's session is going to be very, very much relevant, because using Google Analytics, it actually allows us to get one step closer to our customers and know how are people responding to things, right? So let's go back to the slides. All right. And many of you actually have reached out to us to want to just find out how can we actually bring our businesses from offline to online and learn new skills to make sure that we still stay relevant to our customers, right? And in today's session, we actually will be sharing with you all how you can use web analytics to better understand how customers are engaging on your website, so that you, as a business owner, can provide better online experiences to your customers as well. So without further ado, I'd like to pass the stage today to Adele to share with everyone on the screen today how you can get started with Google Analytics. So Adele,
Awesome.
passing to you.
Thank you so much, Jin and Zin. Hopefully, I don't get that mixed up. Okay, awesome. So before we dive in deep into what we're going to be looking into specifically, let's just see what we're going to cover in this session. So first and foremost, we're going to look at the understanding and the importance of web analytics for your business growth, especially during this time as most of our SMEs and companies are going online even more. And the second thing we're going to look at is essentially how to set up the analytics account and define your business goals. So for some of you guys who have already been on the analytics account, you may feel like there's just a lot going on in terms of even setting it up. So hopefully in today's session, we're going to clear that up, and it's not as difficult as it actually seems. And last but not least, we're going to look at the insights that you are able to derive from your Google Analytics reports and see how you can further optimize your business goals as well. Now, when it comes to web analytics tools, right, it has essentially changed the way that we have made decisions in the digital world. And thanks to web analytics, we don't have to guess about what specifically our customers are thinking or our users are doing, for example. But instead, what we can do is get a detailed information of anything that we want. What are they doing on our website? Where are they coming from? And we're going to look at how you can be able to derive all these results in a little bit. Now, with Google Analytics, I'm just going to put this out there because all of us love this word. Google Analytics is completely free, especially I know Malaysians love this. And it's also one of the most widely adapted analytics tools as well. So without further ado, let's move on. Okay, now before we go into anything, now when it comes to data, right? Now getting data is not a problem at all anymore. We have big data. Now Google's opportunity is to be able to take this huge amount of data that we have and make it manageable for people and for people or business owners to be able to interpret them in a very smooth flowing way as well. Now, we as business owners, what we need to do is essentially be able to find these interconnections with the data. So essentially, we're looking for patterns, we're looking for themes, and inbuilt context for genuine understanding. Now, the ultimate goal over here is to provide an actionable insight that you as a business owner can use to prove or disapprove a hypothesis in your business. Awesome. So let's move on to the next one. Okay. Now, with the rapid change in consumer behavior during this period, especially, where everything is a little bit uncertain. Now, businesses must be useful to their customers in order to meet their customers' needs and understand their consumer behavior as well. And how you can do this is by essentially measuring your business growth. So how can we measure, right? There's three main things that we're looking at. The first one would be the basics of it. And the basics would include getting the data. And it's not just about getting the data, but it's getting the data right and also consistently, okay? Now, you want to ensure that your stakeholders trust in the reliability across the data sources. So you want to measure what matters. You want to define, for example. And the second the context of your customer journey. At the same time, you want to be able to better understand your marketing spend in the context of your customer journey. And this is, again, what Google Analytics can do for you. And last but not least, we are looking at action, right? Now, with all the data that you have been derived or you are able to derive from your Google Analytics account, you want to put it to action. And how you can do this is by optimally allocating scarce resources, allocating scarce marketing resources, and finding your most important prospects and customers for you to be able to maximize your lifetime value. Okay, awesome. So, Jin, over to you.
Thanks, Adele. Yeah, so next we actually will have the next Slido session. And over here, you can just go back to sli.do.com and key in the event code G316. Right? So in this slide, we actually will be asking, Google Analytics can tell you, A, what time of the day your website gets the most traffic, B, how many mentions or likes that you get on your social media, C, how well your competitors' ads campaign are doing, or D, the email address of the visitors coming to your page, right? So you can just head over to slido.com and key in the event code G316. to participate in this session. Okay, yeah, so let's just give everyone some time to look into it. Okay, so looks like this is going to be just a very quick one. So let's just look into the polls and see how are several responding. And it's good. So basically, everyone did answer what time of the day that you're getting the most traffic. So Google Analytics can actually give you a lot of information about how well your website is performing, including the time of the day it receives the most traffic. So, and these informations are actually live too, which in this case, Adele will be continuing to share more about it after this, right? So let's just come back to the slides. And Adele, I'm going to be passing this back to you.
Awesome, thank you. All right, guys. So as you can see in the slides, this is the gist of what you're able to get from Google Analytics. Now, advertisers across the world are using web analytics tools to inform their business and website advertising decisions. So Google Analytics is, again, one of the most popular web analytic tools that many advertisers use. And while it may seem complicated at first, once you get to understand a couple of tools, what they do and how they look, for example, you'll be able to, master it as well. Now, with Google Analytics, right, you'll be able to help, it'll be able to help you understand and answer a lot of the questions that you already have, or even the questions that you hadn't already asked yourself for your business. So one of the things you'll be able to understand, right, with Google Analytics is essentially it's able to show you how visitors found your website. And at the same time, you'll be able to understand better what did they do when they're on your website, right? And at the same time, it also helps you measure the effectiveness of your online and your offline marketing goals, which again is a massive opportunity for businesses who are especially going online at this very moment as well. Okay. So now, beyond showing you the statistics and also the information that I just shared earlier, one other thing you'll be able to understand or see is a few other questions. So you'll be able to see on the slides questions like, who are your visitors? How did they find me? Okay. And at the same time, what are your users doing onto your website? Are the customers that are viewing your website, are they word to you? Are they making an action? Are they taking an action? Are they leaving your website? Where should you improve on? So I'm going to be sharing with you an example, right? So I'm going to be sharing with you about how Lisa has a business where she sells t-shirts, okay? And with Google Analytics, what she's able to do is essentially she's able to see the entire journey of her customer with her brand. So for instance, right, she can actually see when someone clicks a link to her website from a specific social media site. She can also see when that user has visited her site or left her site and then came back a week later to actually purchase a t-shirt, for example. Now, how does this happen, right? Now, Analytics does this by letting Lisa create the special links to put on her social media and other places that are on her website. And those links, when people click on them, she will be able to get the traffic and see where that specific traffic is coming from. Okay, so I hope this gives you a little bit of a gist. And then we are going to look into how we can understand how Google Analytics can help you as a business. Now, before we go diving deep into the tools, right, and perhaps a couple of jargon words that may seem, fearful at first, okay, we're going to see how to set up Google Analytics account, okay? Awesome. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, first and foremost, guys, I do want to highlight to you now all the process that I'm going to be sharing with you right now in this next few minutes. Don't be fearful. Don't fret, because these information is also going to be in the handbook, which we are going to share upon the completion of the feedback form at the end of the session. So first and foremost, when it comes to getting your Google Analytics account, you want to ensure that you're using a business email address when you create your account instead of a personal address. Okay. Now, second of all, in order to be able to create this account, you want to be able to go to your browser, click on google.com/analytics. And when you land on a page that looks similar to the screen on your side, you want to go ahead and click on Start for Free button, which you'll be able to see. Awesome. And over here, right, what you'll be able to do, or what you want to do, is essentially on the left navigation bar, which is on the left-hand side of the panel, you'll be able to see on the GIF right now, you want to click on the admin section, which is at the bottom left. And in the admin account, you want to click on plus create account. Okay, it's as simple as that. Clicking on admin and plus create account. And what we're going to do next is essentially going and inserting your account name. Okay, awesome. Okay, so over here on the screen, you'll be able to see insert your account name, and this name that you actually put up here, right? It can actually be your company name, for example. It can even be your website name, for example, essentially your business name. Because with Google Analytics, you can actually create multiple accounts. So you want to be very clear about which account you are creating, which account you're monitoring as well. And once you go ahead and do that, let's move on to the next step over here. And essentially, what you'll be able to see on screen right now is it's asking you right now, which property do you want to set it up? So for example, what this means, right? With analytics, you can actually choose to track your website. You can even choose to track your app. You can even choose to track both of this. So you want to be very clear about which one you are choosing. But for this example, what we're going to go ahead and do is essentially choose the website tracking. Awesome. Okay. So let's move on to the next step once we have chosen website. Okay, now over here, right? Once you've chosen that, you'll be asked to insert your website URL. So you will also be able to see, right, when you are doing this on your side, that you have a protocol option, which is HTTP or HTTPS. You want to ensure that you're choosing the right protocol in order for the account to be able to analyze your website. Once you have chosen or inserted your URL, which is your website name or domain, you want to go ahead and choose the business industry that you're in. You're given a few options over there. And last but not least, you want to choose the reporting time zone. And since we are in Malaysia, please go ahead and choose the Malaysian time zone. Awesome. So let's move on to the next one, which is almost the end. Okay, so once you have gone ahead and configured all those information, right, take some time to read through the data processing terms and understand what type of data that Google will need to collect from you on your website and also from your customers, and be able to provide you with high quality information, which again is an opportunity for many businesses as well. So now we are going to go on to being able to understand how Google Analytics works. Okay, so now that we've had all the process of the steps involved and we move it out of the way, so let's go and see how it works and how it can actually cater to your business. Now, when it comes to the process of collecting data analytics, in order for to track a website, right, you first need to create a Google Analytics account, which by now we have done, correct? So as you can tell, the process was not too difficult in terms of setting it up. Now, once you have created the analytics account, you will actually need to add a small piece of Java tracking code to each one of your pages. So essentially, Google Analytics, the platform, will be able to give you a code, and you will need to copy and paste it onto your website. Now, every time a user visits the web page, the tracking code will collect the anonymous information about how that user has interacted with the page, and it will be able to collect it on your Google Analytics account. So when the tracking code collects data, it packages up that information and it sends it to Google Analytics account to be processed into reports. So one thing I would like to highlight over here, okay? So I know whenever I say code, most of us will just get spooked out by it, which is like, oh my God, I don't even understand those. So that's fine. Now, if you work with a developer, what you want to be able to do is essentially just give them that code and they will be able to copy and paste it onto your website. So easy as that. Okay, so let's move on to the next one over here. So which is essentially, again, adding the tracking code. And again, you want to take note of this if you are going to get your developer to do this. Okay, so now the tracking code, again, is a piece of JavaScript which will be given to you by Google Analytics once you have set it up already. You need to copy and paste it onto your web pages. Now, Google Analytics will only have access to your website after you have added this tracking code correctly onto your website pages. Now, one thing you guys want to do note about is that it can actually take up to 24 hours for the data to appear in your reports after you have set up your tracking code on your website. Now, again, if this is a bit complicated for everyone, don't worry, because there's more information in your handbook, which you guys want to get your hands on literally after the session is over. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. So now, once you have essentially set up your Google Analytics account, you have also inserted your tracking code. Now we're going to move on to setting up a report viewing, which again, you are allowed to collect data, read the data that's given to you. So now with reporting view, right, it allows you to create filtered perspective of your data. So for example, you can actually filter out collecting data or viewing reports from all the pages in your website, or for a specific page within your website. And how you're able to do this is essentially by clicking on the admin page, and then you click on view column and click on the plus create view button. You'll be able to see it on the GIF on screen right now. And once you actually click on the plus create view button, you will need to insert a name. So one thing I would recommend over here is use a specific and descriptive name so you can easily tell what data this view is when you're looking at the name in the list. Now, this is because you're able to see, or you're able to create many different viewings as well. So you want to be very, very specific. Otherwise, you may be a bit confused. Okay, awesome. So we'll move on to the next part over here. So once you have clicked on the create button, right, you can go ahead and click on the reporting time zone, which again, we are in Malaysia. So go ahead and choose that. And then finally click on the create view button over there. Awesome. So now that we've had all of that out of the way, okay, I'm going to be explaining to you guys the account structure. So I know everything that I explained is a mouthful. So hopefully in this session over here, you feel like it's not that difficult to comprehend. Okay. All right. So awesome. Now, if you're able to see on the slide over here, right, we have a picture that shows you a very simple Google Analytics account structure and how the reporting comes in hand, the property comes in hand, and from the accounting. So now a property is a subcomponent of an analytics account, which is again the analytics account that you have created earlier. So normally under one account, you can actually have multiple properties, which allows you to independently track each one of your digital assets. So earlier we went ahead and created website, for example. You can also have another property to property for a different website, for example. So you have all these different options over here. Now, one thing you guys want to keep in mind is any resource tagged with the same property ID is collected and stored together. And a single property can be used to track one website or a mobile app, or even be rolled up in the form of data on multiple sites and also multiple apps. Now, so now that we have the property understanding, let's go on to the view, right? Which we again have created the view. Now, a view or reporting or a reporting view is a subset of an analytics account. Apologies, Jin. Yeah, okay, awesome. Now, a view or reporting view is a subset of an analytics account property that can have its unique configuration settings. So now on the slide, you'll be able to see we have view 1, we have view 2, and view 3. So essentially, right, you'll be able to create, or you have the options of creating multiple different views. And what exactly am I saying right now, right? So essentially, I'm referring to you can actually create a view to filter out all the internal traffic, meaning if you have employees who are handling the account, they have the option, or you have the option to filter out who exactly is monitoring it and how the actions are. You also have a second view where you can actually click or view the specific activities that users are making on your website or your subdomain. And at the same time, if you do send a web and app data to the same property, you want to ensure that you use filters to exclude web or app data from specific views as well. All right, so let's move on. Now, again, I know a lot of the things that I've said is a mouthful, but don't worry, guys. Hopefully, in the handbook, it'll be much easier as well for you guys. All right, awesome. So now let's move on to being able to navigate around your Google Analytics. So again, when you first appear or you open up your Google Analytics account, there's so many different navigations, so many jargons that you don't really understand what's going on. So hopefully in this session, I'm going to be explaining to you as well. Now, on the left navigation bar, when you open up your Google Analytics account, you are allowed, or you'll be able to see 5 different components, and these components are showing you real real-time audience acquisition, behavior, and also conversion. So don't worry again. If you don't understand all these, don't worry at all, because I'm going to be explaining to you each one of this in a little bit, okay? But before that, let's move on to the next one. Now, on your Google Analytics account, awesome. Okay, now when you go ahead onto your dashboards, right, you also will be able to see the customization tab. Okay, awesome. Jin? Could you? Yeah, awesome. Okay. Now, sorry about that. Now, when you are navigating around your Google Analytics again, you also have the option of customizing your Google Analytics account. So, for example, you have shortcuts, you have custom reports, and also more. And you can, again, customize it to your own liking as well. Okay. Now, next, one thing you will be able to see is the Google Analytics settings. Okay. Again, on the left-hand panel. Now, in the admin session, it contains all of your Google Analytics settings. Now, this allows you to change settings on your own account. It also allows you to change on your property and also on your views. It also allows you to change your user permission. So, for example, if you want to give access to your team, but you want to limit their access, you can do so on this part here. Okay, now let's move on to the next one over here. So another thing you'll be able to see is a back button. Now, when you click on this back button, it minimizes the left panel bar. Again, this allows you to have a much bigger view of what you're seeing on your Google Analytics account page. Awesome. Okay. So at any point, if you feel like it's just too much at the moment, okay, go ahead and click on the help button or the help menu, which you'll be able to see on the top right of the screen as well. Okay. And last one over here is essentially being able, or you have the option of turning the notification buttons. And this allows you to receive your notifications on your accounts. And over to you, Jin.
Thank you very much, Adele. Yeah, so what Adele has covered over is actually just is going to be about how you can set up your Google Analytics account, which a lot of this information also, if you find it to be a little bit complicated, you can actually refer to the handbook, which we will be actually sharing with you towards the end of the session after you have filled in the survey form. So let's take a little bit of a breather and look into Slido, where you can just go to sli.do.com and make sure that you're having the event code G316 on there as well, right? And the next question that we have is going to be, if your key business goal is to get people to book rooms at your guest house, so what data are you most likely to be interested in? So is it A, how long people spend on your how to find us page, or B, which day of the week is most popular for bookings, C, whether your funny tweets go viral, or D, how many people are actually visiting your site to book a room with you? Right?
Definitely the funny tweets.
Yeah, funny tweets. Funny tweets for me.
All right. So this is a very much a short one. So let's let's go over to the polls and see how is the questions going. Right. And so most of us have actually chose how many people visiting your site books a room with you. Or the funny tweets is not popular at all, seems like. Oh well, but good. You know, everyone, you got the right answer. The most important point to focus on is to how many people are actually visiting your site and booking a room together with you. All right, cool. So let's just go back, and Adele, coming back to you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. All right. So now, what we're going to do here is essentially look at your business goals. Okay. But before that, why we are looking at this section is essentially because we have so much of data that Google Analytics can give you, right? One thing that we want as business owners, we want data. So with Google Analytics, you get that. However, what you do with the data is most important. So essentially, with the data that you receive, you want to make sure that it's in line with your goals. So in order to make use of the data or all the information that you are able to give, right, you want to make sure that your measuring process and your measuring progress as well is towards your specific goals. Otherwise, it may be out of hand. Okay, so Now that means, right, what you want to do as a business owner, as someone who is handling your Google Analytics account, understanding your customers, you want to be able to customize your Google Analytics a little bit. Now, so that you can actually track the things that are essential to you, that are important to you, instead of everything, which may not be as important to you as well. So if you have a business website, for example, we have created it for a reason, correct? So just about anything that you ever hope to achieve with your website, you're able to be tracked, or you can actually track it with your analytics as a goal that you hope to achieve. So now what we're going to look at is essentially being able to translate your business goals into website goals. So now when you set up your website goals, you want to be able to identify the actions that you want your users to take on your website. Now, a goals representation is a complete activity that can be called in different terms. So one common term that we actually listen to or we hear often is conversion. So that's actually a goal, right? And another one is essentially, and this goal, essentially, you want to be able to have it or make sure that it contributes to the success of your business. So for example, if you are using Google Ads to actually advertise your business online, you can collect your account, connect your Google Analytics account with your ad account to measure the effectiveness of your ad campaigns. At the same time, right, you can also set up goals by singling out the actions that you want people to take on your site. So for instance, I want someone to purchase something on my website, or Zine wants specific people or people to come onto her website, for example, and you're able to track these goals as well, very specific ones. So essentially, when it comes to defining your goals, it is a fundamental component of any digital analytics measurement plan. So having properly configured your goals allows analytics to provide you with critical information, such as the number of conversions, such as the conversion rates, for example. And these are very, very important. It's very, very important for you to be able to measure the effectiveness of your online goals and your marketing efforts as well. Awesome. So let's go on to how you can do this. All right. Now, when it comes to configuring your goals, right, you want to do this at the view level. And by now, you guys should be a bit familiar where the view button is, which is your admin, and then you have view over there. So when it comes to creating your goals, it can actually be applied to specific pages. It can even be applied to specific screens that you can view how much of people are looking at your screen, how long they're staying on your site or your app, for example. And you can also track events, that can have like a monetary value, for example. So all the goals that you create on your Google Analytics account can have monetary value. And this allows you to see how much of that is worth to your business, how much of, in terms of conversions, is worth it to your business. So using values for goals actually lets you focus on the highest value conversions. So when a visitor goes onto your website, performs an action, which is already defined as a goal by you on Google Analytics, now this is going to be made available in a number of special purpose reports. So when you're setting up your Google Analytics account, you can actually choose to use an existing template, okay, which will be given to you, or you can even create your own one. And if you want to actually be able to import templates, right, that are not the ones that you see currently on your screen, I'm going to be sharing a couple of resources later on, which is completely free as well. Okay. Now, another important note that you guys want to take note of is essentially each view that you are able to create or you're able to see can only create a maximum of 20 goals. So this would mean that you want to create different views, which again, as I mentioned earlier, you have the option of creating different views as well. So now there are all kinds of goals that you can find and that you can track with your Google Analytics. And this is able to show you the real value of what's happening onto your website, okay? So once it's done, when you're looking at your reports in your web analytic tools, it becomes much more productive for you as well as a business owner to understand what exactly you need to do, okay? Awesome. So now, back to you, Jin.
Hello. Yeah. So before we dive into the insights that you can get from Google Analytics, right? Let's do another Slido question, which you can just go to sli.do.com and type in the event code G316 if you have not already. right? So the question is, analytics can give you immediate valuable information about which type of customers. Is it about your current and future customers? Is it your previous and current customers? Is it your previous and future customers? Or your offline and online customers, right? So let's go over to Slido and see what your most best guess is going to be. And we can go over to the post, and looks like most of us have got it correct. You can actually get information about your previous and your current customers, because the Google Analytics can instantly provide you data that shows what are your customers doing on your website, as well as using trends with historical data that shows how they have actually performed previously on your website itself, right? So looking forward to what's coming up next. Let's go back to the slides, and Adele, back to you.
Awesome. So now that we are able to understand how Google Analytics can help us, right, we're going to take a quick tour to better understand the analytics dashboard, which again, we're going to find this session really helpful. I've mentioned a couple of the tools earlier, but this one is going to be in depth, okay? All right, so let's move on to that. Now, these are the type of insights that you will be able to see when you are on your Google Analytics and specifically on your dashboard as well. So now, when you go onto Google Analytics, it can seem complex and daunting with there's like a million ways for you to mix and match your segments to produce reports that are best fit to you and your business, okay? So this is going to be an overview of the categories of how you can mix and match your filters to produce those reports. And the first and foremost is the real time, which again, you'll be able to see on your left-hand panel when you're on your Google Analytics. Now, when it comes to real time, it essentially shows you the impact of your marketing efforts almost in real time. And essentially, it's immediately and continuously monitoring the effects that campaigns and site changes as well. Now, when it comes to audience reports, on the other hand, this part provides you insight to the characters of your users. So you'll be able to understand the demographics, the interests, the location, the language and behavior, or the devices that your audiences are actually looking at or using. Now, the third one over here is acquisition. Acquisition reports provides you a window or to your users, and in short, we call this ABC, which is essentially acquisition, behavior, and conversion cycle. So basically, this allows you to see how you acquire your users, their behavior on their site, their conversion patterns as well. Again, these are different tools that will be in line with your goals or how you can leverage on this as well for your goal, your business goals. Now, the fourth one over here, we're looking at behavior reports. Now, behavior reports essentially tells you how behaviors vary between the new and the returning users of your website as well. And last but not least, we're going to look at conversions. So a lot of marketers who are probably paying attention love the word conversions over here. It means a lead or it means a sale. So that's exactly what it is. A conversion is the completion of an activity that is very important to the success of your business, such as a sign up for your email newsletter or your workshop, for example, or even a purchase on your website. And you can use these reports to see how all your channels work together and create sales. Awesome. So now we're going to go into in-depth a little bit onto each one of these components over here. So again, when it comes to real time, it shows you the impact of your marketing efforts in real time. And here are a few highlights of the ways that you are able to actually use real time. So the first thing you can do is essentially you're able to determine if new and changed site content is being viewed. So for example, if you've just made a change onto your website, you'll be able to see if those changes are being viewed by your customers. And second of all, you'll also be able to determine if a one-day promotion drives traffic and also which pages are being viewed as well. And the next one you'll be able to see is it's able to monitor the immediate effects on your site traffic from a blog or from a social post. And last but not least, you're able to monitor your goal completion as you test site changes as well, which again is very, very important because we are always updating our website. Now, the second one over here, which is the conversions. Again, a conversion is essentially a completion of a very important business activity over here. And when you make a change to your site, such as a product, you've added a product, or perhaps you've made a change to some of the information on your product page, you want to be able to ensure that that change has a positive impact on your conversions. And again, we don't want to guess, right? So this is how we are able to track it over here. So for example, right, let's say you have made a change onto your checkout step. You've added an extra step for users. Now, we want to be able to see, does that have a positive impact? So we can actually track that here. One thing I do want to highlight is whenever you do add a step, you actually risk decreasing conversions. People don't want to go through 20 different steps when they're trying to check out. We are also very much guilty of that. And what happens is we always abandon cart, right? And then we see them following us all around. Awesome. So now the third one over here is the audience report. Now, when it comes to the audience report, Okay, when it comes to the audience report, right, it's allowed to provide insights to your characteristics. So Jin, apologies. Yeah, okay, awesome. Now, again, when it comes to audience report, it provides you insights onto your characteristics of your users. So as I mentioned, you're able to see the demographics, the interests of your users, the location of your users, the language, and also their behavior, and which devices are we actually, or are they actually using. So business owners often have to have like a preconceived notion about who their audiences are. But with Google Analytics, it can actually give you very specific results and data of who they are. So you don't assume, right? Now let's move on to the acquisition reports. Okay, so now acquisition is a very, very big word, right? But to essentially minimize it, it actually it relates back to how you are getting your customers. Where are they coming from? Now, when it comes to acquisition reports, right, you'll be able to see specific traffic of where your users are coming from and on which channels and how they're performing as well. So for example, right, if we're using Lisa and her t-shirt business, which I mentioned earlier, right, she uses the acquisition reports to find out how people are searching for them or finding them through search engine. Okay, so you guys, as a business owner, you'll be able to use this information to drive site content, for overall content strategy, for your Google Ads campaigns, and for your advertising affiliate content. So now, if you are present on different platforms, one thing you want to check out is the attribution model comparison tool, which is available in the conversion section. So this is maybe a little bit advanced as well, but over here, you'll be able to find insights about paths to purchase. If users are clicking on multiple ads from different channels, you can also find benchmarking metrics for different channels by going to the audience part of Google Analytics. So while all of this may be a lot, okay, just keep in mind to not get too caught up on these numbers. Instead, use them as a general guidance, okay? Now, last one over here we have is behavior flow reports. Now, with behavior flow reports, right, you're able to visualize the path users travel on one page or event to the next. Now, this helps you discover what content keeps your users engaged with your website and identify the potential content issues which you can use to further optimize your website. So one thing you guys want to keep in mind is that you must have set up and be tracking events and also before they are able to actually appear on the behavior flow report. The more organized you are about setting up your event tracking code, the easier it is to actually use the events or pages and events views of the behavior flow report. And at the same time, you must have also set up a content groupings before they're able to appear in the report. Okay, awesome. So now, apart from all the things that I've mentioned earlier, beyond all of that, right, these are also some of the other information and also data that you can actually derived from Google Analytics. So it will be able to help you answer the following questions. So for example, if you have been wondering where people are hearing about your website, you are able to view that data on Google Analytics. Which pages within your website are most visited? What devices are your customers using? Are they using a laptop? Are they using your mobile? How much of the percentage of them are using mobile, for example? Where exactly your customers are coming from? Are they in Malaysia? Are they in Singapore? Are they around the APAC region? You'll be able to receive this data. And last but not least, you will also be able to see how is your social media driving the performance of your website or to your website as well. Now, a little bit of recap first before we go on to a really exciting session with Zin. So with web analytics, right, it essentially helps you understand the visitor behavior on your website, and it measures how effective your site and your digital campaigns are. Google Analytics is again completely free, no charge, that shows you data about your website and marketing channels. And second of all, setting goals in your Google Analytics can actually give you further insight onto your visitors' experience on your website. And through this, you can further optimize your website as well. And last but not least, Google Analytics shows you the resource of your web traffic, what people click on, which pages do they go to, and you can also create custom URLs and actually paste them on other marketing channels to see how many people are clicking on them and how they are being tracked as well. Awesome. So now, as I mentioned earlier, if you are looking to import a template onto your Google Analytics, if the dashboard is a bit complicated for you, you can go ahead onto the solutions gallery over here, where you can import templates. Again, free, okay? And you can go ahead by just jotting down this link. But at the same time, guys, I want to ensure and I want to highlight that all the links, right, are in the description box and also in the handbook once you actually go ahead and fill the feedback form up. Now, the next one over here would be essentially if you want to sharpen your analytics knowledge. You guys do want to go ahead and check out the Primer app over here, which is the Google Primer app. It's an educational app that's available on the Play Store and the App Store, and you'll be able to see very fun lessons that are 5 minutes or lesser. And last but not least, guys, if you do want to improve your analytics skills with free online courses from Google, Jin just gone. Awesome. Okay, you guys want to check out the Analytics Academy, again, completely free. And I know we all get like goosebumps when I say that. Analytics Academy actually helps you learn about Google's measurement tools so that you can actually grow your business further, understand how users are behaving, what you need to look out for in your business as well. And last but not least, guys, before we end, you can also refer to our Grow with Google website for more information on the tools that we have covered here today, if everything I've said is a mouthful, as well as additional resources that you will be able to find useful. And last but not least, over here, we have another resource page, Think with Google, for the latest insight and trends, best practices to help you navigate, especially through this uncertainty. But again, guys, all the links are down in the description, so go ahead and tune into that. And if you have enjoyed today's session, please feel free to follow us on the Mahir Digital Bersama Google Facebook page to get latest business insights and trends. We are also going to be we're also going to be announcing exciting upcoming workshops. And it's really exciting because even we are pretty much excited about it. And if you've enjoyed yourself today, please do drop us a review on Facebook and share with your peers. Awesome. So over to you guys.
Thank you so much, Adele, for your sharing on Google Analytics. I believe your sharing today would be able to help many business owners learn about the wonders of data analytics and get better insights towards their clients. So in the next segment, we're actually coming towards this part we call Coffee Talk with Zine. So Zine, welcome back.
Yes, never left.
I'll always checking in case you really want to have some coffee. So, Zine, talking a little bit about Google Analytics, right? Before diving into how Google Analytics actually helped your business, so as a brand marketing consultancy company yourself, right? Zine, do you have any advisors that you can share with current business owners that are joining us today?
This is going to be a very long answer, so you have to brace yourself. Before MCO, Anyone coming to me and ask any good advice for them to market or brand themselves, my response will always be make sure you have a clear goal, objective needs to be set, have your actions in place, and blah, blah, blah. But today, the advice is going to be totally different. It's not going to be a textbook advice, but the real answer is you have to evolve. And when I say evolve, it's not what worked before that you continue to make work. Some of the things that you need to do right now is adjustment, lots of different adjustment. Your SOP in place was never in place in the past. And the SOP that you have today, in the past, it won't make sense. So nobody has a textbook answer for that. So what you used to have that's automated in your company, now with the new SOP, re-automate. Don't sit there and say, new SOP and then we have to do things all manual. No, re-automate. Find new ways to make it automated again with the new SOP. And earlier, as I mentioned, over communicate, right? So the next advice is communicate, communicate, communicate. That's something that a lot of people take for granted because they assume you already know. I've been in this business for 20 years. I assume you already know, but it's not. It's everything is different. So it is important for you to take a step back and say, I have a lot more to tell. Internal staff need to know. They get very jittery every time a PM makes an announcement because they're not sure would that affect me, or businesses. What kind of assistance am I getting? External customers, are you open? Are you not? Do I come to you for delivery? Do I come to you to eat? For my Kwai Tai Hong case, for instance, a lot of the F&Bs have issues even when they open because people don't come in assuming you're not. Then what happens? So communicate, communicate, and communicate explicitly. Don't make assumptions like we did in the past. This other thing that we are doing today, like video conferencing, it's a norm. In fact, it's going to be a norm. In fact, it's going to be an expert norm for everyone. We are serial going with, I won't say serial dating, but we are serial video conferencing right now. It's one to another. So instead of just getting comfortable with it, be really good at it. Use it as a tool. Use it as a tool to sell and to communicate. The need to work together while we are apart. See, three of us are in three different locations and we're working together. That's going to be it for everyone. And you need to find tools. And one of the tools that I find useful, I know it sounds like advertising, but I'm still going to say it anyway. One of the tools I find very useful is when I share my files through Google Doc, Google Sheet, or even Google Slides. And we're able to all work on it together. In the old days, even this is when I say in the old days means pre-MCO, yeah, not old days as in 20 years ago. In the old days, pre-MCO, I would share a file across and tell everyone, oh, slide 7, slide 8, make this adjustment, and blah, 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 write a long email and tell them what to do. What I learned with today's technology is I could, in the past, actually open a file, write my comments in there, have 10 people all looking at the file, seeing my comments typed out, and making adjustments as we go. This used to be done in a meeting room, all 10 of us with our own physical body there, and everybody is trying to go through a slide. Because of MCO, it's forced me to look at a different alternative. And next thing you know, I find a better alternative. So after MCO, if I'm going to sit in my same meeting room with my people, I'll be telling them, go home and let's all work together better. And it actually works better. Another advice, be really humble. This is something I'm telling everyone because I may have run my business for 20 years, but that doesn't make me an expert because level playing field right now. Everyone is new SOP, new ideas. So if you're really humble and put your ego aside, don't be afraid of things that Google Analytics share with you. I mean, Google Analytics, for instance, is going to be something that a lot of people fear or shun because they say, 20% of what Adele says English, 80% is fear. Because those words that she used, you're like, oh, I hear it from those technical people and I'm really afraid. But don't be, because they are English, but they make sense. Acquisition, like a big word, it's all about trying to convert somebody walking into your shop and you're trying to sell. You producing a sale from someone walking into a shop is your form of acquisition. So if you could just be more humble, sit there and say, you know what, I'm not just going to be afraid, I'm going to face it and then embrace it. Next thing you know, you're going to be teaching like Adele, right? I'm sure Adele started being afraid as well. And again, I emphasize the whole thing about giving first. It's okay if you could share your knowledge, but it's better if you share your talent and your skills. Good things will come back in return, but it's important for you to adopt new models that is of sharing basis because we're all equal right now. Don't have this thing about, because I know its advantages, I'm going to keep it. You'll be surprised how some sharing becomes a collaboration effort, and the next thing you know, it becomes bigger, better ideas. So that will be my advice.
Thanks so much, Zine. Actually, there was a quote that, through our conversation that you were sharing earlier, that a candle doesn't lose its flame if it shares its flame with another candle or house in this case. And the very fact is that most businesses are really afraid about, sometimes afraid about knowing what's inside and afraid of knowing what's coming in as well. So I kind of guess an example would be like, everyone's afraid to go to the doctors just to get their blood test, because I don't want to know what's coming up from there, but it's good if I know about it. I know I probably should lose 10 pounds or something like that. Yeah, but that's pretty much, the fact is that Google Analytics is just going to show you things as it is. And what do you make sense of the data? That's how things really work on from it. So, and because today's topic it is about Google Analytics. So, Zine, as you run multiple businesses, maybe Zine, you can just share with all of us, how did Google Analytics help you and your team to gain insights from the customers' behaviors?
Okay, I'll give you an example of something we did before MCO, where we had a festivity themed workshop. So Kwai Tai Hong has always been about bringing people back to Chinatown, experiencing what's in the 1960s, 1970s. So one of the activity we did was teaching people how to use arts and crafts from the old Chinese style, like paper cutting for Chinese New Year and all. So we try to sell the tickets online, and it's sold on our website. So that's the process of selling. But to communicate to people, we used our social media platform, IG, Facebook, and Google My Business. We actually pushed a lot of postings there. What was useful to me is I could tell which posting works best. For instance, which has the highest click-through, which has the highest interest bringing into my website. I could see the highest conversion rate for certain postings. It could be a specific title, but it also could be the way I've written my copy. It could be a very interesting picture, maybe a very pretty lady that sells. And we could see spikes that was irregular. When I say spikes that was irregular, I would look at it and say, how come there's a huge spike? I didn't do anything different today. And then I realized there were two influencers covering our activity. And the moment the influencers put it on their site, the next thing you know, I have a bump of people coming in just to check out the workshop. So things like this, I could never do before, because what I did before was, oh, tickets sold well today, yay. But you don't know why. So now I know, and from there we adjust and continue to adjust until it achieves better result. All this absolutely free. In the old days, you have to pay for data like that. But today, if you would just take a bit of effort, fine tune those information you see from Google Analytics, next thing you know, you are now making decisions, statistical decisions, and not gut feels. You're no longer making assumptions. You're no longer saying, I think this one has more ladylike feel, so I think more lady customers. Not true. Totally not true, because now what you see is statistics telling you the effectiveness of marketing is no longer an art, it's science.
Yeah, I
Thanks so much.
completely agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's no longer, kind of reminds me of those advertisements. This is science. It's no longer drawings. And I really like the way that Zine actually, how you shared the importance about data and businesses using data, because simply we are now in a very new field that all businesses, well, customers walk in, that's one new field. Customers ordering online, it's another field. And using Google Analytics and getting the behavioral data of customers, which leads us to making better business decisions, it actually helps our business to grow as well. So I'm really glad that Zine, you brought up this point. And I really would love to go on further a little bit more, but because of time, I'm afraid that this is going to be the last sip of coffee that we have with you in this session. Right. So to everyone who is here today, we are really very happy that you joined us, and we've come to the end of the session today. Right. So as we have been mentioning throughout the session, this is where you can actually fill up the survey form, where you can actually scan the QR code, or you can just type in your browser bit.ly/Mahe Digital Virtual. And upon completing the survey, we will actually be sending you the handbook that contains all the information that we have been sharing today. So in case if you've missed out any of the links, rest assured, just fill up this feedback form and we'll make sure that the handbook is delivered to you virtually. Right? So in the meantime, while coming to the end of the session, right, one of the advisors that also through a side conversation that we were having among us just now is really don't be afraid of technology. And it's one thing to want to learn about all the good things that we have, because like what Adele was sharing earlier, we have the Google Primer tool, we have Think with Google, we have Grow with Google, we have all the upcoming workshops. The most important thing that you take away from this workshop is actually the implementation, because as much as acquisition, behavior, goals, events, honestly, I would be also having a whole hit full of it. Had I not really go into Google Analytics and start testing? And with all the different templates that's available, that is actually available in the Analytics Academy, really just pick something that you like. Obviously, we all started learning by walking, then only progress to running. Try jumping when you are a 6-month-old. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, it definitely comes down to like the implementation. And a lot of times we try to collect the information, but we don't implement them. And it's definitely, in order to know if it's effective, it comes down to that. Yeah.
So the trick for me when I started doing this, the real trick is just start really small and be really happy with that tiny achievement. For instance, I want to know, are there more female coming to my site or male? It could just start with that. And then next thing you know, I want to know how many international customers actually visits Kwai Zai Hong, because I want to know how many of them come from different countries. I could just start with these two questions. And when I find an answer that is statistically proven, I'm so proud of it, right? Then I have more questions. So then your goals start setting differently, and then you start shaping it because you realize you can ask these kinds of questions. Yeah.
Oh,
Thanks, Dean.
that's really good. Yeah, that's really good advice. Definitely, like you even feel like happy when you see like traffic on your website or day one. Like, oh wow, there's someone who viewed my website. Yeah.
And they're using their Android phone. Yay! I could see a lot of people on mobile site instead of on these kind of information. It's all gut feel in the past, but it's all in a click of just a few buttons, and all you need to do is just try it out. If you are really afraid, just get one of those solution, get a template, get one that says starter, because that will give you a much more comfortable graph to feel and look. Don't jump straight to expert, because you will be turned off by it. It's just too complicated for the first person for the first try. Yeah.
So if you want to just recap all the cool stuff that we are sharing at this moment, so remember to just fill up the feedback form, and after that the handbook will be sent digitally to you, where you can actually recap all the links that we have been sharing and we have been talking about over here. So before we end this session, right, Adele and Zine, do you have maybe some last words to share with our participants today?
For me, honestly, it comes down to like, even if everything that you've learned today is too much, don't worry about it. View your handbook. It's going to be in layman terms, much easier for you to understand, and implement it. Play around with the platform, for example, understand what it's able to offer you, and then take small steps. Yeah.
Ditto, whatever she said.
Yeah.
And probably need the next coffee too already. All right. So everyone, together with the team with Mahir Digital bersama Google, really thank you for spending time and dedicating time, in fact, to join us on this session. We hope to see you in the upcoming workshops. And with this, everyone, take care, have a nice day, and stay safe. Bye.
Bye.